It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 5 films released on August 28th, 2009, as we wrap up the summer movie season with a couple of sequels, horror sequels in particular. One was pretty good, the other not so much. We also have a couple other movies as well, so let's just not waste any more time and just get right on into it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, what was supposed to be the final installment of the Final Destination series until simply it wasn't. This is The Final Destination.
Hey, how old is this place?
Got me.
We're fine. That's why they built the fence there.
We're all gonna die, alright? It's gonna be a crash.
Have you lost your mind? You saw it before it actually happened. We're alive and so are a lot of other people.
I keep having these visions. I see how the next person was gonna die.
What do you mean, the next person?
Survivors on the accident.
What if we weren't meant to survive? What's gonna happen to us?
I think we can stop it. Look out!
Now admit it. You've all had a situation like that where where you were standing on an escalator and you were worried that you were going to get stuck. Like, I saw that episode of Rescue 911 where they did a recreation of the story of the kid that got his shoelaces caught in the escalator, and they were afraid that he was going to get chopped up by it. I mean, that fucked me up as a kid. So seeing that in the movie just made me like, oh, I got bad memories of that. But yeah, this is The Final Destination. Complete lie, because this thing became a big hit, and of course we got another movie coming out of this, which will come out in 2011, and then we have a 6th film coming out this weekend, actually, as I'm recording this. But on what should have been a fun-filled day at the races, Nick O'Bannon has a horrific premonition in which a bizarre sequences of events causes multiple race cars to crash, sending flaming debris into the stands, brutally killing his friends and causing the upper deck of the stands to collapse on him. When he comes out of the grisly nightmare, Nick panics, persuades his girlfriend Lori and their friends Janet and Hunt to leave, escaping seconds before Nick's frightening vision becomes a terrible reality. Which, I always never understood the fact that, you know, the point of getting the people out of there before the vision happened, shouldn't that kind of cancel out the devastation beforehand? I mean, again, that was me kind of thinking about the same thing in Final Destination 3, but I guess here it kind of makes sense because the racetrack, you know, you have accidents like this all the time. But anyway, back to the story. They're thinking they cheated death. The group has a new lease on life, but unfortunately for Nick and Lori, it's only the beginning. As his premonition continues and the crash survivors begin to die one by one in increasingly gruesome and stupid ways. I mean, come on. When Family Guy literally does the bit later on where Quagmire gets hit by the T-bone by the lawnmower, and it's literally almost the same thing, except Quagmire's not dying a horrible death like this woman is. I mean, that's part of the problem with the movie. But I gotta finish the story up here. Nick must figure out how to cheat death once and for all before he too reaches his final destination. The film marks the latest in the highly popular Final Destination series in its first 3D installment, giving horror fans an especially visceral thrill ride. And at the time, this movie was not seen as a big critical darling or a film that most people would see as any good. And yeah, like I said, it was a film that I remember not liking too much early on, but as time had gone on and you really look back at how bad Final Destination 3 was, this one does actually come back around to being somewhat fun again. Incredibly stupid but fun. Like I said, some of the deaths in here get so ridiculous and so pathetically over the top. Like, it's just kind of like, you're either going in knowing that you're going in for something stupid, or you're just going to question it and just not want to come back to these movies. I mean, like with the first two movies, they do find a creative way to get you hooked. The opening is great. The scene where the mall is just completely being torn apart is just so much fun to watch. I mean, it's one of the more creative and fun sequences they've done here. And yeah, the first half and the second half, the opening and the ending are really the strongest parts of the movie. Not everything about the movie works overall, but the deaths are back to being fun again. I mean, unlike the last movie, they're not being dragged out for 5 minutes like they were in Final Destination 3, where they just really took their time to build this whole thing up. It's just like, come on, just get to it already, for the love of God. And here, it moves a lot faster. The pace is much quicker. And yeah, they're not dragging it out all the way to the point where you're just ready to just scream at the movie to wrap it up already. No, they're not doing that. It's a really fun movie. Stupid, but fun. But then again, most of these movies are pretty fun. Case in point with the last film. And will the new film, Final Destination Bloodlines, continue that trend? That's for another show. We'll talk about it there on the next episode next Sunday. But yeah, that's the Final Destination. That's an example of a horror sequel that actually works. Now here's a horror sequel that doesn't work. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Kino is here.
I know he's not gonna come back just because of some stupid holiday.
This summer, only one movie will get your adrenaline pumping.
Call 911.
And your heart racing.
There's blood everywhere.
From director Rob Zombie. This Friday,
I'm Michael Myers' sister.
discover the darkest secrets. Michael is more evolved. And experience the terrifying final chapter. Halloween 2, rated R.
Or let's just call it what it really is. Rob Zombie's, hey, look how hot my wife is. Let her be the full focus of the movie, even though the whole movie should be about Michael Myers, and instead of my wife playing his mother. Because that's literally what this whole movie is. Rob Zombie literally puts the focus on his wife as Michael Myers' mother, and she basically just takes over the entire movie. That's one of the first problems this movie has. This is, of course, the sequel to the remake of Halloween from Rob Zombie, which was okay for what it was, but this is where the shit literally hits the fan. As Laurie Strode, once again played by Scott Taylor Compton, deals with the aftermath of the events of the previous film. Dr. Loomis, played by Malcolm McDowell, tries to capitalize on the events with a new book, and Michael Myers seeks to reunite with her sister and, cause chaos and mayhem at that point going forward. And yeah, the biggest problem with the movie is the fact that Rob Zombie's wife took over this movie. I mean, she's all over this movie. It's not really even about Michael Myers or even Laurie. Like, they're kind of like off in the distance in this movie. They don't really have a whole lot to do here. And the whole movie just comes off as really underwhelming, because it's just like, what are you even trying to do? What is he even trying to do with this movie, except the fact show everybody that, hey, I got a hot wife. I'm pulling the Paul W.S. Anderson thing, where I'm going to put my wife in this, even though she can't act her way out of a paper bag. And as much as I hate Mila Jovovich, Sherry Moon Zombie is not a good actress at all. And when she's on screen, it's just kind of like, okay, you're making Mila Jovovich look better. You are completing the ultimate sin in Hollywood, is making Mila Jovovich look tolerable in a movie. And here, yeah, this film, there's no excuse for how bad this is. Yeah, Rob Zombie wanted to provide a glimpse into the characters' psyches and all that type of stuff. Well, you know what? You could do that without whoring out your wife in the process, because that's literally what happens in this movie, and just kind of pushing all the other characters off to the side. The scares aren't even that good in this movie. This thing is just such a complete waste of time and a waste of your patience, and it just really, really feels like there's just nothing there. There's nothing of value here whatsoever, and all of the in the end, it's just kind of like, what's the point? Like, why are we even here right now? And there's no point to it whatsoever, and it would only make less sense if a studio that was very reliable, Blumhouse Studios, would later come in and do a Halloween trilogy where, they somehow make it even stupider than that. At first they didn't do it, but then, kind of like with the Rob Zombie movie, they did it not once but twice. They made it absolutely horrible in the end. But we'll save that for 2018 when we get to the Blumhouse Halloween. But Halloween 2, This one, not so much. Just stick with the original Halloween 2. It's the much better movie. It's directed by somebody who is more reputable than Rob Zombie. John Carpenter. Not even John Carpenter didn't direct that one. No, he worked on it, but it was directed by Rick Rosenthal. But still, it's a way better movie than this Halloween 2 is, and it's not even close. So anyway, that's Halloween 2. That's one you could definitely skip. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Ang Lee's latest film, and that is Taking Woodstock.
69, all Elliot had were his parents.
Dad, that's bleach.
It kills the germs. Their hotel.
What are you doing with those sheets?
They're dirty.
Those two didn't do nothing in there. Shake them, put them back.
And a permit.
My application for our summer music and art event, $1.
But that's all it took.
You have a permit? Yes.
For the party.
The Woodstock Nation.
Think anyone will come?
No.
Of the century.
We've made brownies, baby!
Dimitri Martin, Eugene Levy, Emile Hirsch, Liev Schreiber, Taking Woodstock. Rated R.
Boy, Lee Schreiber liked to dress up in drag more than I thought. I mean, he was dressing up in... He was a woman in Mixed Nuts, and here he's playing a woman as well. And, yeah, I did not think he played drag... He played a woman in multiple movies. I thought he was just the one in Mixed Nuts and not in this movie. But anyway, this is Taking Woodstock. This is Ang Lee's follow-up to Brokeback Mountain. It's 1969, and Elliot Tiber, a down-on-his-luck interior designer in Greenwich Village, New York, has to move back upstate to help his parents manage their rundown Catskills motel, the El Monaco Resort. The bank is about to foreclose. His father wants to burn down the place but hasn't paid the insurance, and Elliot is still figuring out how to come to his parents. When Elliot hears that a neighboring town has pulled the permit of a hippie music festival, he calls the producers thinking he can drum up some much-needed business for the model. 3 weeks later, 500,000 people are on their way to his neighbor's farm in White Lake, New York, and Elliot finds himself swept up in a generational defining event that will change his life and American culture forever, that of course being Woodstock. And coming off of the movies he had made before this, he also did Lust, Caution too, Brokeback Mountain, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is a film where the possibility is there for something good. There's definitely a lot of things about it that are good about the movie. But in the end, you still come out feeling a little bit underwhelmed by what you see here. It felt like Ang Lee was trying way too hard to do something that was kind of more, not really on the level of something like one of his bigger movies he had done, like Hulk, but more but not even something on the lines of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Brokeback Mountain. I just don't think his heart was in the right set for this. I don't think he was the right person to make this movie. He didn't write the script for this, and I think that's part of the reason why the film kind of falls apart pretty quickly, but it's a good cast overall. You've got Dimitri Martin, Imelda Staunton, Henry Goodman, Liev Schreiber, Jonathan Groff, Eugene Levy, Emile Hirsch, Paul Dano, Kelly Garter, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Adam Paley, Dan Fogler, Catherine Waterston. A lot of good people in the movie. A good idea overall, telling the story of how Woodstock became this massive event that nobody really saw coming and became the centerpiece of American culture as a whole, but the film doesn't really do anything that tells you anything that you don't know already about the story of Woodstock. There are documentaries that are much more appealing and much more engaging than this movie is. And that's really kind of the one bummer about it. It's just like, you see this, and nothing really interesting happens in it whatsoever. Like, nothing really makes you go like, oh, I didn't know about this. Let me watch this and continue on and see if I can find something. And it just isn't there. And like I said, I think Ang Lee's heart wasn't in the right place for this one. That's why I kind of think this one kind of fell apart at the seams, and it just didn't work overall. Take what you get with his next movie, Life of Pi. That's a movie where you could tell he was clearly in on that one. He wanted to make this grand movie on the level of Brokeback Mountain, and that one worked for what that was trying to do. This one, not so much. Yeah, not a great movie, but not a bad movie. But not a bad movie, but not a great movie either, is what I'm trying to say. So, mixed opinion on Taking Woodstock. So let's go ahead and move on to some indie films now with our next movie, and that is Patton Oswalt starring in Big Fan.
You need help, but you need 6,000 egg rolls. Put all that stuff on.
This basic stuff every person needs. Family, children.
No, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Where are you going? Whoa.
Well, this is a story that most sports fans can relate to. To most who know him or even merely see him in his life, 36-year-old Paul Ophelio, played by Patton Oswalt, is a sad sack of a man. He still lives at home on Staten Island with his mother, who basically supports him. He works at a dead-end job as a parking garage attendant, and his mother states his only ever girlfriend has been his overworked hand. But Paul staunchly defends his life to others who rail against him or try to help him, especially in being what he considers the biggest New York Giants fan there is. He and his only true friend Sal attend every home game, although only as tailgaters who watch the game on a battery-powered TV in the stadium parking lot, while the other tailgaters have tickets to see the game inside the stadium. And he spends most of his time writing what he will ultimately say on Sports Talk, post-game call-in radio show, as well-known fan caller Paul from Staten Island, making his fan ratings sound as unscripted as Giants-Ravens, especially as the Giants and Eagles battle for the division title. Paul and Saul believe they've died and gone to heaven when they spot their favorite Giant, quarterback Quantrell Bishop, a 5-time Pro Bowler, out one evening. The elation of the night to this point changes after they finally decide to approach Bishop. That encounter may make Paul reevaluate his devotion to the Giants, whose seemingly easy march to the postseason has now become a little more difficult, and by association, everything that he has held true to his life, his entire life. So basically, what happens in the movie is that they come across this quarterback played by Jonathan Hamm, who's actually a former amateur boxer and an actual football player too. But they meet him up at a gas station, and he ends up beating the crap out of Patton Oswalt's character, and he basically is given an opportunity to sue the guy, and he can't really decide, should he do this or not, because he's afraid that if he does, the team's not going to make the playoffs overall. And maybe what I said before about something we could all relate to, maybe a little bit much overall, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, it's not to this extreme overall. And what makes this movie work is Patton Oswalt, who's given a really good performance for a character that you don't know if you really want to like him or not, because you do want to believe that this guy really cares about his football team and is willing to do whatever it takes to do it because he's that big of a fan. Like maybe to an extreme measure. I mean, this is a point where, like, he's given a chance to file a $77 million lawsuit against the dude, and he can't do it because he is so convinced that if he's not there, the team's going to lose the game and miss the Super Bowl altogether. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and it's one of those things where it's just like, you believe in his convictions, but at the same time, you're passing up on a possible $77 million lawsuit. Take the money, man. It's like with Flash of Genius. It's just kind of like, yeah, I know you want to be the guy that wants to have this idea of yours be your idea, but you lost out on $40 million and your family fell apart because you decided to back down on that. That's one thing I don't like about Flash of Genius, is because you want us to root for somebody who's lost his entire family and lost out on millions of dollars just so he can win this argument against the big car company. It's just like, nobody wants to see that. Here, it's that same thing, but it makes more sense because you do believe in the character, and but you also don't hate the guy. Like, you hate some of the motivations he does, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, you don't know if you should like him or not, or should hate him. It's just really, it's a very difficult situation to be in overall, and Patton Oswalt just makes it work overall. He's really good in the movie. Kevin Corrigan is very good playing his best friend. Michael Rappaport is really good in here. This is directed by Robert D. Siegel, who wrote The Wrestler, and also would later go on to direct The Founder, which is the Ray Kroc movie that starred Michael Keaton, which is a really good movie. And also, I didn't know this, the editor on this movie was Josh Trank, the man who would later go on to create Chronicle and then completely destroy his career with Fan Four Stick. So that's something else you should take from it. But if you want to see Patton Oswalt in a much more daring role where it's not just him playing in a typical character you've seen before, Big Fan's definitely one you want to check out. It's a really good movie. It's one where you don't know if you should really be behind the character's motivations overall, but it keeps you invested all the way through. It's one of those movies where you don't know if you should like the main character or not, but you're so invested that you don't care, and you just get so caught up in the story and really want to see how it's going to turn out. And I thought it worked all the way through. It's one of those underrated films, not really a whole lot of people talk about, but it's one you should definitely check out. Big fan. So with that said, on to the last movie we have here, and that's the Rooster Teeth movie, Mystery Team.
You're the guy who puts milk in his butt.
Are we not just taking off clothes?
A murderer shoved a gun in my face.
I know, and I appreciate that.
2 dead bodies. That's my limit. I'm finishing this case.
Where did you find this?
It's a long story.
No, it's not. Stripper beat it to a toilet.
Hey! Shut up.
And of course, let's not forget the film's biggest star, that's right, another movie with Corey Coleman attached from it. Corey Coleman, of course, from Spill and Double Toasted. It's like the third film I've covered in this show that he's been involved in. Space Jam, Courage Under Fire, and now this movie, Mystery Team. I said this was Rooster Teeth, but I think I got it wrong. I think this is a Derek comedy, but it's a comedy team that has Donald Glover among it. Of course, this is before, he started Community, not but a month after this premiere, in theaters. But you also have the feature film debuts of Aubrey Plaza, Ellie Kemper, Neil Casey, Ben Schwartz, and Bobby Moynihan, who would later go on to have comedy careers of their own. Ever since childhood, best friends Jason, Duncan, and Charlie, played by Donald Glover, DC Pearson, and Dominique Derricks, have been solving neighborhood crimes. The three young men get the chance of a lifetime when the local woman hires them to find her father's killer. All eyes are watching as the guy uses every item in their inept bag of tricks to crack the case. And, I'm not too familiar with the Derek comedy group in general. I mean, the only thing I know about is that Donald Glover is among the people in there. And watching the movie, it's just kind of like, I said this before with stuff like Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy. Like, it feels like you need to know the style of comedy that those people are doing to really get the laughs out of it. With Brain Candy, I got the comedy, and I thought that was actually really funny. Here, not so much. I mean, it's not a bad movie by any means necessary. There are times when it can be funny, but I just feel like I don't know this group's style of comedy overall because I haven't really watched it. I mean, I know Donald Glover is a talented motherfucker. I mean, the guy has proven that time and time again how good he can really be, and everybody else in here is really good too. A lot of good talent in here that went on to become big comedy names in their own right. But as far as the film itself goes, I don't know, I don't hate it, but it's just kind of like, it's there. Like, sometimes I'll get a laugh there, but I would never tell anybody this is one you want to check out. I mean, unless you know the comedy group themselves. And I think if you know the comedy group more, you're definitely going to find a lot more value from it. But for somebody coming in relatively new and unaware what these guys are capable of, yeah, I kind of feel like I was just kind of like, it's not great, but it's not bad either, so mixed opinion on that one. So that's Mystery Team. Alrighty, that's going to wrap this episode of Talking About the Movies up for this week. And next time we take a look at the films of Labor Day weekend. And it's not got off to a great start. Sandra Bullock in one of her movies of 2009, the one that wasn't successful, All About Steve. We'll take a look at that one. We'll take a look at Gerard Butler in the new film from the guys who made Crank, Gamer. And we have Mike Judge's newest film with Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Mila Kunis, and Kristen Wiig among the cast, Extract. So we'll take a look at all three of those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. But until then, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and the bell. That's where we get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.